Massachusetts Institute of Technology has become the first school to reject President Trump's compact for academic excellence.
Congrats to my alma mater for turning down a bribe to let the executive branch dictate what happens on its campus. You would think that Thomas Massie, the whole no true Scotsman, he's the most conservative, maybe he would have a bigger problem or be drawing more attention to the leftist progressive woke policies of MIT. On to someone else who bothers me and really probably shouldn't bother me as much as he does.
Well,
but it really does. You guys can let me know if like there's a point in being consistent with your principles, and I understand that.
Yeah,
and then being anti-pragmatic as really for the purpose of clicks and grandstanding. So Thomas Massie is at odds with President Trump again. Let me explain to you why. MIT was the first school to reject President Trump's sort of his latest his policy with higher education, and it's called the Compact for Academic Excellence. I'll explain it to you, but here's a clip.
Massachusetts Institute of Technology has become the first school to reject President Trump's compact for academic excellence in higher education. In a letter to federal officials, MIT's president Sally Kornbluth said she cannot support the proposal because it includes provisions the school does not agree with.
No, Kornbluth.
Okay, Sally.
So let me explain to you the policy. It promised 9 top schools that they would get priority federal funding if they agreed to some simple things. Check the references. And if you don't think that these are reasonable, okay, you can let me know. Comment below. Things like freeze tuition of American students for 5 years. That would seem like something that everyone on the left has been on board with. Commit to strict definitions of gender. No. And that matters for private spaces, bathrooms, shared spaces, and
penis,
of course,
no penis.
Sports, that would matter, right? If they would prohibit the punishment of conservative ideas.
Hey.
Specifically, we've seen that on campus. And if they would cap the number of international students.
Yes.
And we'll get to those numbers in a second, but Thomas Massie, of course, took issue with this because he always does. And he posted this on X. He said, the surest way to screw up the world's best technical school is to let feds tell them how to run it. Congrats to my alma mater for turning down a bribe to let the executive branch dictate what happens on its campus. A lot of things are wrong in the USA, but MIT's not one of them. To be the best science and technical school in the world, you have to accept the smartest people in the world. That's his problem, is he wants more foreigners. Wants more foreigners. He believes that Americans are kind of dumb. Oh, he clarified. Not all of them are born in the United States. Oh, enough of them are. How about that? Enough of them are. Maybe not every single brilliant person is born in the United States. By the way, I would also put our top minds up against the top minds of India because they haven't figured out how to make India not look like India. So there are enough born in the United States, and they're being deprioritized. So let me give you some examples, by the way. The reason that this might be relevant to MIT, and you would think that Thomas Massie, the whole no true Scotsman, he's the most conservative, maybe he would have a bigger problem or be drawing more attention to the leftist progressive woke policies of MIT. For example, men being allowed in women's bathrooms and women's dorms. They disinvited scientists from speaking because that one scientist, I remember, opposed affirmative action. They forced a Catholic chaplain to resign for stating that George Floyd did not live a virtuous life. Jeez. And by the way, they replaced the chaplain with DeCarlos Brown Jr. So there's that. Toolman. Yeah, you don't.
There's time for Photoshops and stuff. You know, who knows? I mean,
you distracted?
Oh, boy.
It doesn't punch as hard.
It's hard.
All right. Well, we'll get this
DEI
back.
hire for Tim.
We'll get this back. We'll get it back on track. Now, let me explain to you, too, the policy that deals with foreign students, basically. The policy would cap undergraduate international students to 15%. Okay, the current percentage of MIT international undergrads are only 12%. The policy doesn't really deal specifically with graduate students. I would like it to, because the current MIT international grad student percentage is 40%.
That's insane.
Meaning 40% of students, grad students at MIT, are not here from the United States.
What are we doing? Why? Listen, I understand his point. It has some merit that you want to have some of the best minds in the world, but a very small percentage. Why are we educating the rest of the world's children using our institutions to do it, letting them send remittances back or just flat out leave and go work somewhere else? Like, I get that there's some benefit to having the smartest minds come here, work here, stay here, become American. That's not happening, though.
No, all the while using American funding, using federal funding.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem of it.
Yeah. There also something else, like we need to stop these universities being run like publicly traded companies where it's constantly trying to expand. Like, hey, maybe it's okay if your school shrinks a little bit. In other words, maybe we don't just always need to increase attendance, because what have we done to try and meet that I don't even want to say demanding, ever required growth of these universities? Is tell everyone they have to go to school, and we have a bunch of people going to school who don't need to go to school. And so then you say, well, then let's bring in international students. How about we make school, like it used to be, affordable and appropriate, with degrees that are appropriate for those who will make good use of them, and be happy with that. But also, when you look at the endowment these schools sit on, like, start spending some of that. Yeah. How about that? How about you guys just, you don't need any more. How about you start doing more with less? You don't need as many students. You don't need to enroll a bunch of international students. You don't need a bunch of federal funding. Let's just start with that. Yeah. How do we think we will get anything other than inflation when schools sit on massive? What's the endowment up to Harvard? Is like,
I think it's in the $50 billion range.
Is that what it is? It's huge.
I'm not kidding. I think it's plus or minus 10. I'm pretty sure.
How do you expect anything other than massive inflation if these people sit on this treasure chest and then go, no, but we're gonna keep it for a rainy day, and let's keep accepting federal funding? Like, they're incentivized to make it unaffordable, and then incentivized to close that gap with just international students. Anyone who will come in and become a slave to debt, great, go to school. They don't care. I will say this, my dad, to give you an example, I opened a bank account when I was young. And my dad wanted me to learn about money. And this was, I'm trying to remember, it was some Canadian bank. I don't remember what it was called. But the lady sits me down and goes, hey, are you thinking of opening a credit card? She was French Canadian. Mm-hmm. And
I thought she was deaf.
Yeah. And my dad goes, now, do you see what just happened, son? She wants right away to get you into the debt market. She's like, no, we don't want to get him into debt. And my dad was like, what's the interest rate? She's like, 114%, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And when I was like, see, they just tried to hook you on that. You're trying to be responsible with money. That's the same thing that we see with universities. He said, they don't care about you. They make money off of you owing money. You need to understand that that's their business. They don't care if you're not responsible with money yet. They don't care that if you don't have a dad like me teaching you. It's the same thing with these schools. They just go, well, get a degree. Do you think they care if you'll be able to pay it back? When you're talking about most of these, they end up being guaranteed anyway. Do you think they care? No, it's a numbers game. They want as many people in their school as possible. They don't care if their degrees are useless. They're incentivized to create more possible degrees, more possible areas of study, so that you just join up and give them your money. For crying out loud, they've created entire departments of study that don't actually have any employment opportunities, and they're filling them sometimes with international graduate students.
Yeah.
This whole thing is a scam, and they guilt you by trying to make you feel like, well, if you just want to be ignorant, it's 2025. It's 2025. You have all information that you could possibly need at your fingertips. You could run circles around your professor if you spent 2 years in a disciplined manner studying a given topic. I guarantee you, I really want to see this go away.
Yeah. And listen, for Thomas Massie, isn't it one of the most America first, pro-America things to do to make sure that we have the best and brightest trained here, working here, and that our institutions aren't just liberal cesspools churning out people that would absolutely take Thomas Massie out politically if they could every single day of the week? Yeah. And increase the size of government and destroy the foundations of this country? Thomas Massie can't see past himself to see that this is actually a good idea. I understand his hesitation on government getting involved, but when it comes to institutions that have already showed their hand on what they're going to do, on the heels of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy saying we need more H-1Bs and uncap this stuff, isn't it great that the administration is trying to say, well, hey, why don't we educate Americans to do these jobs that we need? Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Thomas Massie, you are respectfully invited on the show. What's the issue with this? Do you take issue with the ban on biological men in women's spaces in sports? Do you take issue with a cap on tuition for 5 years for Americans? Do you take issue with the idea of them facing consequences, meaning those in academia, if they discriminate against certain political thought, namely conservatives? Or is it you take issue with the idea that we should probably be prioritizing Americans over international students? Is that what you take issue with? I think you kind of answered the question saying that we don't have enough of the brightest here in the United States. But Thomas Massie, if you're going to claim that you're more conservative, what is your issue? Because this is the reason that libertarianism is dead. Saying, government getting involved, it doesn't work anymore. Government is so involved in everything at this point that you are going to need to use the mechanism that has unfortunately been thrust into place to kind of undo it. We understand that now. We understand that simply legalizing all drugs and black tar heroin has negative consequences. We understand that, we live in the real world where you could say keep government out of it, but the reason we see record inflation with tuition is because government is in it in the form of grants and scholarships. So we want to use government to try and reset it at this point. Libertarians, their solution when you end up with the powers of government, their solution is do nothing because it could then be used against you. Well, it already has, and we know it will. So how about instead of we know it'll be used against us, do nothing, how about do something? How about do something? And you guys comment, is libertarianism dead? I think so. I think it's dumb. All right. And it's stupid. And I don't mean stupid like some people say, like, yo, that's stupid. I mean, it's stupid. Oh, you're still here, which is a miracle in the age of Instagram and shorts. I think you have some shorts up there. You have an attention span that is longer than that of a fruit gnat. So thank you. I'm glad you probably would like it a lot more if you actually head over and subscribe on Rumble. I'm live there 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern, where free speech is still alive. Go to Rumble. Get off the social media ghetto that is YouTube, with a lot of homosexual activity here on YouTube. There may be some on Rumble, but I haven't seen it.